Since I was 10 years old. So I'm 68, so I've been doing it a while. Yeah, the first time was when I was 10 and we did some tie-dyes at Lake, and so much fun. And then we wore them. It was at Whitewater Lake. My sister Charlotte and her husband's family. Oh, it was awesome, because when you wear your own thing, you know, you get a lot of compliments, and I was young, so that was quite a new feeling for me. And then as I loved art in school, and we lived in Illinois, and I had an art teacher in elementary school, and I later became an art teacher because of I enjoyed art, and seemed like the way to go.
Yeah.
So as time went on, let's see, where do I want to go with this? This is called, What is Katazumi? What is Katazumi? And it tells you what Katazumi is. It's a Japanese method of using paste with a stencil. And a stencil is just something like this. And you put the paste on. The stencils are handmade, all original. This one's bought. And how I ended up taking a Katazumi class was because my second child would not stop nursing. And I had nursed him for 2 years. And it was during the summer, and I had to get away. So I went to Aramont, and I wanted to take a dyeing class because I thought that's cool. And so all they had was this Katazumi class. Well, the Katazumi class had a Japanese teacher brought in that spoke no English.
Oh, no.
And it's amazing, though, how much you can learn from someone that doesn't speak, you know, in art, you can communicate. So I actually did learn how to do some Katazumi. I cut a stencil, and the stencil I cut this was made from, and this is not on fabric, this is on a mulberry paper. And so we're there for 5 days. I cut this stencil. Designed and cut. So you will see it many, many times. And this is, you know, just like your workshop, you know, class, you don't really plan to make them into masterpieces and show them and stuff. So I never framed them or anything. But this shows, and this, think about how old this is now. Because he's 47 and he was 2. So these are old. And you can paint. So what you do is you put your stencil on, and these were cut ones, and then he made a paste from rice flour. So that was interesting. And then when he ran out of rice flour, he had to figure out something else in America he could use, because back then we didn't have this rice flour.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it was a very involved process. You then let it dry, and then you add your cold water. These are just the same fiber reactive dyes that I use now, and that's what they were using back then. So that's how these were basically made. Now, when I decided to do a crazy Katazumi demo, I thought, well, yeah, I need some better samples. And I started looking online, and I looked and looked, and I was like, oh my gosh, they have vintage Japanese. They're Japanese, by the way. Y'all know they are the best quilters.
Yes.
I mean, it's like you can go to college and get a degree in quilting. I mean, it's just so much, and we all know that there's so many ways of making a quilt. Well, this came in yesterday. Yesterday is an antique or vintage piece of Katazumi that I got online. As you can see, I just thought it was kind of interesting how they mail it. Because, I mean, I don't know if I've ever gotten something directly from Japan before. But y'all, this is Katazumi. This is So beautiful.
Isn't it beautiful?
So what I'm showing you here, you know, this is such a high level of competency here.
Beautiful.
What are you going to do with that?
I don't know, I just got it, so I haven't had it to think. I've been doing all this quilting and stuff. And is it beautiful?
Oh, so pretty.
And it's vintage. Wow. It's, yeah. I don't mind passing around. Y'all want me to pass it around?
Oh, it's weird.
So, you maybe.
Can you buy the stencils? You can't buy the stencils.
Hmm?
You can't buy those stencils, correct?
No, but let's talk about stencils. You can buy some stencils. Of course, you know, stencils are made to be creative with, so you can be very creative with them. Here's a few. Now, the thing about a stencil, it has to hold together. So if you ever make a stencil, you got to think of a way to make a pattern where it can hold together. You have just so many opportunities to make stencils these days because there's all sorts of materials such as, this is, I have this iron to it, but this is just some parts of freezer paper. You make a stencil from it. You can make a stencil from that plastic that you peel. I did that.
Press and seal.
You know, where you have
vinyl.
Yeah, that vinyl that you peel. I remember doing that with kids, making a dinosaur for some different dinosaurs for a dinosaur party, and it sticks. You know, you peel it off, it sticks. Now another thing you can do, and I took another class where we were using stencils with paste and all, and they took, this was at an AQS show in Daytona. They took your basting spray, and then we had ironed the paper onto freezer paper, the fabric, as you can see, and then you put your stencil down with the basting spray, like this.
Okay.
And so it really, really sticks. Really sticks well. And when you stencil, and this is what I did not bring today, is there's all sorts of things that you can use to get the paint on and stuff, or the resist. But that's what I forgot. So when you do this, though, you have to be very gentle with it and not get it underneath the stencil. Now I'm going to back up a long ways because I want to tell you about this one. I went to college at Auburn. The first 2 years I went to Gadsden State. Then I went to Auburn for 2 years. This is my first quilt. And I did this in, 75, I think, 1975. And it has stencils in it, but it also has silk screen. So I made a silk, you know what silk screen is? All right, so it's a screen, it's a wood board frame with silk that you've made a design in, so that when you pull the paint over it, it goes through some places it doesn't. I made this little textural thing for sand, and I used a stencil behind that. And these are stencils. Anyway, with the silk screen. So that's one way to use a stencil, is putting it under a silk screen, and then when you pull the squeegee, it just comes out real evenly, which gives you a better clean look. I did do a couple last night, and I'll find them in a minute. That one did well, one didn't. Going back though to the Katazumi, never did it again. It's one of those workshops. I never did it again, but I still wanted to find some different ways of, instead of just tie-dyeing, getting a design with the dye. You understand what I mean? Tie-dyeing is just kind of textural, like this, but this is ice dyeing. So, but you don't have like a picture, an image, it's just textural. So I started doing batiks, and I learned from that same class how to use wax and paint on the fabric where it's white was painted on with hot wax. It's a mixture of paraffin and beeswax. And there's tools that you can do that with to make little dots and stuff. It's a little difficult to work with, but one thing, this is a piece I made in like 1980, and so it's old too. And I was showing pieces and quilting them with trapunto. These pieces, a lot of my designs came from another Japanese border design book, and so this is very Asian looking, as you can see. And I just take those designs and make them my own. So this is a batik process. The first one was to do the wax. Then I did the pink dye, and then I waxed on top of that after it dried and put it in a blue dye that made it more purple. And then you have to iron the wax out between newspapers and stuff, and it's a process. So I did that for a while, but very process oriented. Some of our and here's another one I made in college, and that was not so Asian, but more Art Nouveau.
Did you make two of those?
Hmm?
Did you make two of those?
Yeah.
I'm one very similar because I think I have it. In my tiny home right now, it's just not hung up.
This is some that I bought at one of the AQS shows. And one thing about batik, it has a certain quality, and the wax cracks. So you see how, I love that because it gives you that texture. You don't get that in Katsuin. It's very clean. Very, wherever that is. Very clean. You want to hang it up. But you can see, and I was looking real closely at that place, that's hand done, just the way the dyes fit on, because you can see them blending together. That is not like a photograph.
Right.
That's
for real.
Vintage. Real stuff. Not cheap. But you can paint on all those colors in one swoop. I like that because you can, so you have to dye this one color, dye it, wax it, dye it another color. Very involved. That is a paste. It's water soluble. When you're painting it on with a brush, you're not putting very much on it. Now I'm going to stop right here to say that I think people need to understand the difference between paint, ink, and dye. For a long time, I didn't know the difference. I knew there was a difference because when you paint something, it feels
Still.
It feels heavy. And this may be fabric paint, but it's heavy. Now it's a heavy cloth too. But this is just like, this is one of Donna Lee's pieces. Yeah, and she went to a class and did all sorts of, but it's heavy and stiff. Ink, though it works really well. I did a peacock and for my sister.
I have it.
You have it?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of faded, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because all the little pieces on it have faded because of ink. All it does is stain, and it's not color fast. So it's good to know of a dye that is really color fast, easy to use, and processes that are not where you're going to have to wax out things and, you know, iron it out, wax out, dye different. You know, this is like two dyes. They started green, and then they covered the green with stamps, and then we did it the dark blue. So these are pieces that are batik, and you can
Covered them with stamps.
oh, so you can take a stamp and put it in the wax and stamp it with the wax. So in this one too, it was done that way. All right, so let's see. Where do I want to go here? These are, so I'm just going to show you a few of the pieces I've done in the past. They're different ones. I hope I don't confuse you. This is done with a solar die, and the sun. You put the solar die on the whole piece inside the house where there's no sun and very little light, and then you've done this. Then you go out, you put ferns or rocks or whatever from outside, anything, on top of it and take it outside and let it develop. And then you wash it when you come inside so it doesn't keep on developing. So that was done with ferns. Now sometimes we don't like fabric that we have and we want to change it. So this is cotton fabric with little bees. I'm not saying I'm crazy about what it looks like right now, but I was just experimenting about, you know, you can over dye cotton fabric and make it different. So,
and by over dyeing, you don't mean too much dye. You mean dye over
what design is there. Yeah, maybe a lighter color. Some of the things that I've done have been
Oh, that's pretty.
where it's folded a certain way, and this is ice dyed, but it's done with the same dyes that I'm going to talk to you about. This is a fold dye. That I think I clamped too. This is just a fold dye, vat dye, and when we're talking about vat dyeing, it's like it was folded a certain way. And I put this in brown, and I put this in gray, and I had it some other way where I put it in really dark. I took the corner and put it in really black, and that was how this got a patterny.
Yeah.
This is another fold dye technique. Sometimes I fold them more like a little football. And you can see kind of the way I would manipulate it. Maybe you can, but anyway, you fold different ways and dip and hit sides. Sometimes I just hold them in the side for a while. So those are just some things that I have done in the past with my dyeing. During COVID, dye and mask. And this is part of what I'm going to talk to you about, is this kind of stuff that makes this design right here. It's called color magnet. And you use a stencil, and you put this on, just like I was talking about. You just you put it on there, you have to hold it or tape it, stencil, and then in the holes, you do this up and down motion like this. And it looks real bright yellow. And in a minute, I'll find the ones I have here. But then you put all of this in a vat dye. Now, when I'm talking about a vat dye, I'm talking about putting it in a tub like this. And when I mix my dyes, there they are. So this is color magnet. I took a stencil, and it's a butterfly, and I did this last night where I went through here once. This got real solid. One of them did. This one did. And I think it was because I did have it on an iron piece of parchment paper, and I was using too much of this. See, you want to be very light with your touch whenever you do stenciling. And then when you put it in your dye, whatever, like a brownish dye, wherever you have this, it's like a magnet. And so it gets that color so much more intense in those areas.
Okay.
And I thought that was kind of a neat thing to find, because in our quilting and stuff, sometimes we just want a blender fabric, you know, and so I did a bunch of masks, and you can see how the color, you know, I started to throw away these masks, and I was like, ooh, look at how that one dyeing made two colors. And sometimes you're real surprised about what the magnet draws. So this color magnet, I have stencils that I would use to do these. Man, I did a lot of them. I gave a bunch away, but surprise, I have so many. So, you know, with the yellow, it just really gets intense, where the orange is. And I just want to show you, I got crazy with masks. I made some with so that the teacher in kindergarten could show the kids how to do their letters. You know, to say their phonic words and stuff. All right, I did take another class that I have some samples from, and they use the same fiber reactive Procyon dyes that I use, and we use stencils, and we took and put a paste as well. But it was a different type of paste. It's a paste that's a sodium alginate, which is what you mix up to make dye thicker. But you can make it up as just a paste to put in a stencil. So you would do the same way, except that you took a card and you slid it across like that, similar to silk screen. And so we did, this was a AQS class I took. Me and Tammy were down in Daytona. And I did finish the kind I finished this other day. So this little mermaid I did.
Oh, how pretty.
But then you see, I have a design instead of just textures and stuff, and so it's a way to get there. This lady had so many stencils. Oh my gosh. It was fun because she had so many stencils. And here's another one. You see what that is? So some, you know, don't turn out as well. But that's a
I think it's beautiful.
And then we had a cathedral window class. I had made all of these 5-inch, Donna Nicholson, and when she said, all you need is to do, you know, 5-inch charm packs. And I was like, oh gosh, I had so many of these I made with little stencils, and I made all this, dyed all this stuff. It's perfect for that class. So that was a way to finish something using my hand dye. Just to show another quilt thing, this is a tie-dye method, and it's with flannel. At the time, I was trying to make a heart. I don't know. One side may be better than the other.
I've seen the heart.
Yeah, I've seen the heart.
So that's a tie-dye method. And let's see. Okay, I'm going to talk to you in a minute about how to mix up these dyes. So one of the things to know is when I was doing the batiks and stuff, you have to use a cold water dye because you got wax on it, and so you can't boil it, right? So that's what kind of makes you go down a certain avenue. And so I love the cold water Procyon dyes, and I tell you to where I get them on here, but also just other things you're going to need. What's great about it is they are color fast. Now, when I was 10, I made a tie-dye. Of course, I want to do that at home with my family, on my own, with red dye. My mother finally said, no more dyeing, because you could not put them into a washing machine with other clothes because they would continue to not be color fast.
Oh, wow. So,
you don't do that. However, after you do something with these Procyon MX series dyes, after the initial rinsing out and stuff, then the first time be a little careful in the washing machine with other things. But other than that, you can put them in with kind of light colors like anything else. Now, let me just show you a couple more things here as we're talking about clothes. So these are some stenciled pieces I did. This was actually the solar dye that I painted on through the stencil and then took outside, and it had 2 different colors. So that's how I made it. This one is a stencil with, and it's got a hole in it. That's why a mouse got it down in the basement or somewhere before I gave it away. And you see how that meant then the color magnet, you know, this is one dye bath, and it got the 2 colors. And same with these, you know, some of them, you got a lot of contrast here, that's really great. But this one, like, you don't have such contrast. And nor did I, you know, move around the dye, the shirt and the dye. So that's why you have so much crunchy looks, which is a look. And this one is actually a linen shirt. So there's, as long as you're using a natural cellulose type fiber, like cotton, linen, there's, you know, this has to be in bamboo, you can use it with these dyes. And then this one was kind of an experiment because I did a swirl dye, but then I kind of let it sit in some dye, and that's how the, you know, after I had the stamp on it, I mean the stencil on it, and it got just a little blue, so it's very muted. But it does have a butterfly on it. And then as far as stencils go, there's dud ones I did. Like this stencil had no boundaries. So as you're working, you don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. I think this was from solar dye. So you got to think about the type of boundaries you're going to have. I could cut it and do something with it. But there's like different types of stencils. Like this is a different type of stencil with trees, but it has boundaries. So you could kind of, you know, stop at a certain point instead of make a mess while you're, you can see exactly where the stenciling foam was making. Oh, one of those masks, Loretta, my friend, had a notebook, and this is the top of the notebook. That was this, she said, I can do some of this. She's always thinking of others. So I got just a bunch of different stencils here. This was the one I used for the shirt.
Right.
Anyway, the dyes. This is a color chart. Each dye company has its own color chart. I put in the notes that I use I used Pro Chemical and Dye Company when I was an art teacher, having everybody in school tie-dye. I used them because, well, they were the only ones I was really familiar with back then. But this is another, and they are a dye source. I mean, they're making the dye, so you get that cheaper there than going to Amazon or going to the, you know, art store. So you want to try to stay with your dye source companies. You get pure dye for cheap. But this is a Dharma trading company, and they're a good dye source too. So you can see all the colors, but you can mix dyes too. They're always adding new colors. Let's see. When I mix dye, there's a few things that you need besides your dye powder, and you just need to be very, very careful when you mix dye because it's easily airborne. So this is what I do. I usually take a smaller Ziploc bag and I wear a mask and I you know, just don't have any children, young children especially, or dogs or cats around because they dump it over and then you have a big problem then. But you very carefully use only, you know, plastic spoons and stuff that you will throw away later because you can't eat it afterwards. And then you take just a little bit of water in here with the dye and you make like a paste. And it just really gets the dye to where you never can get all the lumps out of it once you get a lot of water or chemical in there. So this you just start, you know, make a paste and then add a little bit more and you look at it and make sure. You want to wear gloves. You want to, I usually buy Costco gloves. And then you need soda ash. Now soda ash is heavy. You can buy it from the dye company or you can get it on Amazon for smaller amounts. But I got this from Michael's, and if you're just going to do a little bit of dyeing, you only need about a pound of dye of soda ash. Because if you went to the pool store, and this is to raise the pH, you want a pH of 12 when you're dyeing with this. Now, I don't measure it. You can get those little test strips and that. I don't measure it. But you do need to have the soda ash to make the dye become part of the molecule of the fiber. That's why it's so color fast. So it's a process. And this is, you know, just a little container of it, but you know, this costs $7.49, so it's pricey. You need salt when you're drop dyeing. You mix salt, and there's all sorts of different dye recipes. And I've taught Heather how to dye, so she's looking at me like, salt.
I didn't add salt.
We usually dye with just putting the dye in the bottles, and then we usually soak the shirts in soda ash first. It's like a cup of soda ash or half a cup to a gallon of water. And that way the shirts already have the soda ash in it. If it doesn't have the soda ash in it, then the process doesn't work. It has to have the pH high to make a molecule. It's a science thing, Julie. And so, anyway. So you can get it from the pool store, but who wants to buy a 50-pound bag of soda ash, unless you're going to dye a lot. So Amazon, you might find it. And you, of course, you can order it. And if you're just starting out, just do a pound. So, let's see. What else can I tell you? Y'all have any questions? Color magnet? I'm not sure. What do you think I should do? I just think it's pretty.
It's very pretty.
Where do you get the color magnet at?
Color magnet is a Dharma product.
Oh, it is?
And I believe, or no, Jaguar. It's on the sheet.
Okay.
It's a Jaguar. I wrote it down.
Okay.
But I think both the dye companies that I showed you sell it.
Okay.
The art store down on South Side has it. What is it,
Birmingham Park. Yeah, but see, when you buy, and I have bought their little bitty containers of dye, you pay so much more. Where if you buy them from Pro Chemical Dye Company or Dharma, you get, I mean, you still can get a small amount, but you pay so much less. But you do have the shipping fee, but it still comes out better. And I started shopping with Dharma because they have fabric, they have clothing that's already made up for pre-dyeing, you know, for dyeing, that's prepared for dyeing fabric, which is just a really a well-washed fabric that doesn't have any sizing and stuff in it. And so I'll make an order, and I mean, like, I think I bought the mask there. So when I bought them, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. I got some Michaels were there on sale.
I bought the bamboo socks on there.
Yes, I did get bamboo socks, and Julie's got some of them. And I dyed them, or I dyed. I forgot what I was doing. Anyway, the more you buy, the cheaper the price goes. So when you bundle everything together, at least you get something off with the Dharma. Now with Pro Chemical and Dye Company, they have some little benefits too. They have a really good, you can just call them. Any questions? Both of them are pretty good about that. But I found out that Pro Chemical and Dye Company has been a really good thing for me. Both of them are good. So which one are you using? Dharma?
Dharma. When you mix your dyes, because you mix it like that. I have a YouTube video that I did exactly with her technique. But then you put it into a glass quart jar, and yeah, and shake it. And then I put it into my ketchup bottles to spray on or to juice on. There's nothing added to that. Soda ash is only in the pre-mix, but you also can add it if you didn't soak it. Is that how you were talking about?
Okay, so once you add, like in your vat, like this, I've got my salt water. It's not iodized salt. It helps to push it into the fibers. You don't have to have it, but this is actually not. It's urea, but I was going to do something quicker, and I wanted the urea works better and faster.
Yes, I have urea.
It's another, similar
That's
thing.
why. Okay.
So what does urea do?
Same thing as the salt.
It pushes it into the fibers better. It pushes.
So do you put it in your dye?
You mix up some, you put it in your dye, and you add water to it as well. You dilute this. And so, and there's all sorts of different dye recipe amounts. It's not just like with the quilt estimators and stuff. Or maybe it's, I'm thinking of soap. But you can go to the Dharma site, and they have an estimator for how much dye you need per pound of fabric. And it's not the same for each color. So it's a variable there. I was looking at it, I didn't realize I had that, so I put that into your notes too. So anyway, what I was going to do today was I was going to put this in, I was going to mix it a little bit, put this in, put a little bit more water, and put one of these in so that you can see the color change, but I didn't.
It's okay.
And we probably are, I don't know what time it is, but yeah, I've talked long enough.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Y'all do, I mean, I know you want to do some dye. We've talked about it. I'd like to do a dye day, I know you're interested. Are you interested?
Yes.
Do y'all want to do some dye?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Julie, you want to go? Okay. So, yes.
What about pigmented ink?
Pigmented ink.
They use pigment colors rather than dyes.
Again, it's an ink. It stains it. It will fade. Ask Heather. Because the peacock is so faded. And so it's just not color fast.
Okay.
So,
Because the fabric's not treated?
because it's not gone through a process of it has to stay wet for a while to have the process. And there's different ways of doing it. Then you have to steam it or iron it. Usually with ours, I just iron it to get the extra little things that don't stay in. But so it should be something that you're not going to wash a lot and keep it out of the sun.
Yeah, the sun is what got that one.
Is it hanging up?
Yeah, Mom had it always up.
She always was very good about taking my art and putting it up.
You said not want to use that for a specific method.
We're talking about inks. inks because they're not going to be color fast. They're not going to stay in there. It's like a stain.
Even if you use the, what is it, retinol, or I forget what the name of it is.
Now, if you seal it some way, it's going to change it. But any of those sealers, I'm thinking, are like fusible web, fusible interfacing. It all breaks down. It's going to break down. This is the best way to make something lasting with dye. And I like the Procyon NX series dyes. I don't buy them off Amazon. I either go to Pro Chemical and Dye Company or Dharma Trading Company to get my dyes. And you know, it's an expense, but they last, well, they do have a shelf life. Now I need to put that in too. They have a shelf life, so they won't last as well. They will dye still, but they won't dye as well the older they get. And there's a whole different set of this type of dye. It's an H series for wool and protein fibers. That's it. Any more questions?
No.
Dye